Ladies, you remember the scandal a few months ago when it was reported? You may not remember this, and this is one of the reasons why I am here as your host. But some of you might remember a few months ago when it was reported that the CIA was investigating certain Democrat Senate staffers. The Democrats' CIA rendition report that was released is what the CIA was concerned about. CIA was curious how Democrat staffers got hold of highly classified information. They were concerned that these staffers in the Senate, Democrat staffers, would make that information public. And Democrats like Dianne Feinstein were in high dudgeon, just outraged that the CIA wouldn't trust the Senate to protect America's national security. And to me, it sure looks like the CIA was right to be concerned. In fact, they should have done more to stop these staffers, because this report is out, and Dianne Feinstein's practically reading it verbatim on the Senate floor. She's been at it for over a half hour now, and you can sum it up. America's mean. America tortures, or did, during the Bush years. The CIA lied to us. The CIA did far worse. Like, they kept some detainees awake and denied them sleep for 100 hours. And they waterboarded them. And as I listened to her run through all of the, and she said, and it was been conclusively proven that much of the intel we got from this torture was not true. It was just the inmates saying anything to stop the torture. And I remembered back to the sound bites that we had here from Leslie Stahl on 60 Minutes interviewing one of the CIA interrogators. We love this guy. Jose, I think it was Hernandez or something, I think. The guy was great. And Leslie Stahl was just speechless and stunned when he was admitting to her the kinds of techniques that were employed successfully on just one of the detainees, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who we were told broke the record for being able to endure waterboarding. And I remember Leslie Stahl saying, but, that's torture. We don't do that. And this Jose Rodriguez, oh, but we do. And then he went on to describe how it worked. And shortly after Obama assumed office and the regime was in place, they started making noise about prosecuting these interrogators. Remember that? They were going to prosecute American interrogators down at Club Gitmo. It turns out, I think they're not going to do that. But they released this thing today, which basically says that this country, it's typical of what the modern American left thinks of America. It's a catalog of everything wrong with this country. It's a catalog of how we ignored our values. It's a catalog of how we were not who we are. You know, all of this stuff that we set aside our values and we failed a worldwide test, and we can only seek to be a moral leader if we, in fact, behave as moral people in a moral country and so forth. And that philosophy, by the way, I don't agree with. The problem I have with it is this constant assumption that these people make that the United States has to prove everything to everybody. That there's something inherently flawed about us that requires us to daily prove to other reprobate nations around the world that we are worthy of our status. That's what offends me about this. And this I'll tell you, this preoccupation these people have with torture, it's a psychological thing. I've always known how big a deal it is to them. They all take this personally somehow. I've mentioned the two TV shows recently that I have watched and it's stuff that we're talking about, my friends, 7 years ago now. And you would think, listening to Dianne Feinstein today, that it happened yesterday. It happened a couple of days ago. We're finally getting to the truth, and we're now telling everybody what went on. And these television shows make the same point, that it's going on, it's happening now. In fact, it's almost a signature of the United States that we torture. And the obsession these people have with it, it's almost as though they think these kinds of enhanced techniques were never used before by anybody prior to George W. Bush. And it's almost to the point that you get the feeling these people think that nobody else in the world engages in these kind of enhanced interrogation techniques, that we are the sole users of such horrible things. And it is an outright denial. It's a flat-out denial of just how dangerous and despicable the world is in places. This moral equivalence, these people, that somehow we have the duty to prove ourselves every day because we haven't met our own standards, because we have fallen short of our own lofty ideals. And the rest of the world is justified in thinking that we are a reprobate nation. And that's the rubric under which all of this is taking place today. And I, frankly, am tired of it. I'm tired of having to get up every day and listen to the Democrat Party and all of its allies tell everybody in as loud a voice as they can what a rotten place the United States of America is. And particularly when they arrive at this view with an unrealistic view and a lack of understanding of what the real world and the real world of bad guys is really all about. But that's secondary, because the opportunity here is to rip the country and a former Republican president. And that's what they really are gleeful about, and particularly the timing doing this on Jonathan Gruber Day. Let me take a time out, my friends. We will come back and continue as we've just gotten started, just winding up here on the EIB Network.